A very good afternoon to you and welcome to iReady News Bulletin. First, here are the headlines. The Presidential Advisor on National Security Affairs says his family will not revenge on his brother's killing that occurred on Friday in Mayom County headquarters in Unity State. The South Sudan National Police Service says they have registered 6 murder cases, including suicide in Juba over the weekend. And the leader of the National Democratic Movement has re-echoed a call for the drafting of an election timetable as the country gears towards the end of the transitional period. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Yar Ajak Deng, and now the news in detail. The Presidential Advisor on National Security Affairs says his family will not revenge on his brother's killing that occurred on Friday in Mayom County headquarters in Unity State. Tutgalwak made this announcement when he was addressing the mourners yesterday in Juba. He stated that since his brother was a government official, the family have left his death at the hands of the government. On Friday, authorities in Unity State reported the death of 12 people, including the commissioner and Brigadier General, during the attack in Mayom County on Friday. The victims were identified as 4 police officers, 3 SSPDF soldiers, 2 senior wildlife officers, and 1 soldier from the opposition coalition SOA. The Presidential Advisor on National Security Affairs says he has forgiven those who killed his elder brother and other innocent civilians killed alongside.
احنا اسره كبيره بيقول اسره اسمها شيء شوال ما بيصير اولياء قاعدين لكن احنا ما نرد رد عنده الحكومه ولا ما في شرطه دوله قاعدين في السودان انا ما كان له حكومه ياخذ جناح يعني ندفع كم تعال بعد كيفكم ده عشان خاطركم وخاطر الجنوب وخاطر رئيس الجمهوريه احنا ولا نفعل لكم الجنوبيين عشان يكون في استقرار واحنا ما عندنا مشكله نعقد مع رئيس ان احنا ملتزمين مع غول في تجهيز الفعاليه ملتزمين ان شاء الله عشان نعقد استقرار وسلام لباقيين من ابناء جنوب السودان.
Armed opposition group South Sudan People's Movement Army, led by former General Stephen Boy Rolnyang, claimed responsibility for the attack. In 2019, Stephen Boy was arrested on charges of treason, rebellion, and offenses during operations, as well as disobedience of lawful orders, according to several articles in the SPLA Act 2009. He was then stripped of his ranks and dismissed from the military service. The South Sudan National Police Service says they have registered 6 murder cases, including suicide in Juba over the weekend. According to the police spokesperson, an identified gunman on Friday reportedly attacked villagers in Mogiri area of Juba, killing an SSPDF captain and 3 other men on the spot. On Saturday, a man believed to be in his 40s was also gunned down in Gudele, a suburb area. Major General Daniel Justin, however, says a woman he declined to reveal her details also committed suicide in the area on Saturday. He spoke to iRadio in an interview this morning.
The security situation during the weekend was relatively calm, but we have some cases of murder. We have first on the 23rd, unidentified armed criminals killed 4 persons at Magri village. And our police went there and they brought the bodies to the military hospital for post-mortem. And also before that, we have also at around 1:15 in Gudele area, in a bar, a person was killed. And our people went there and took the body to the hospital. We have not arrested anybody so far, but we are still investigating. Also, we have a case of suicide in Gudele.
I will be leading the
Last night, a young lady identified as Naborokia Emanuela was reportedly shot dead at Lemon Gaba. Multiple sources suggest that Emanuela was attacked at her residence by armed men who broke into her house. When asked about the matter, Major General Daniel Justin says they are yet to receive the reports.
receive, because the morning report is still, people are preparing it. So maybe during the day, if you can call back, I will be in position to confirm the death. But in our Gudele division, no case yet open about this, the death of killing of this lady.
Meanwhile, the deputy spokesperson of police says there is need to review some articles in South Sudan Penal Code Act 2008, especially articles encroaching on the Bill of Rights. Brigadier General James Duck Carlo made the appeal during the Sundown show on iRadio last Friday. Brigadier Duck has described an article in the penal code as ridiculous, since the article says there is no case between two couples, even when the woman is a victim of domestic abuse.
Within our constitution, when the Bill of the Rights, which is there, we have to see that there are certain elements that also need to be corrected or to be amended. And for example, in the penal code, they says there is no case between two couples. And then you'll find that the female are the victim, because there's no law that there's no. I beat my wife and then my wife gets injured, or I kill my wife, and the law says that there is no case between two couples. And look at this, it's ridiculous, isn't so? And then you talk of the legal aids, that everybody has to have a legal aids according to the constitution. And no, I don't afford the legal aids, because to get a lawyer is a problem. And then there's no judge who will stand against me when I'm in the court, because the law says I must have right to be defended by the lawyer. So within our previous penal code, there's need a lot of amendment in it.
Duck cited articles on the law of evidence, registration, and the Penal Code Act to be reviewed or considered equal justice. He suggested now that the country is in the process of constitution-making process, it is time to reconsider and review some laws to reflect South Sudan culture and adherence to equal rights for all the people. Brigadier Duck was also one of the participants discussing the role of organized forces in the constitution-making process. You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News. The Archbishop of the Episcopal Church of South Sudan, Justin Badi Arama, has detested same-sex marriage as sinful curse that could provoke God's anger. Bishop Arama, who will attend an Anglican Church Leaders Conference in the UK, appealed for prayers and support for his delegation as they prepare to challenge the Western Church to uphold what he termed as biblical integrity.
I will be leading the DCS bishops and other bishops from the Global South Fellowship of Anglican Churches. We request prayer support from our faithful members as we go and challenge the Western Church to uphold biblical integrity, especially in the area of marriage. We want to make it clear that God ordained marriage.
Convened by the Archbishop of Canterbury this year, the Lambeth Conference will commence tomorrow on the 26th and end on 8th of August. It is a gathering of bishops from across the Anglican Communion for prayer and reflection, fellowship and dialogue on church and world affairs. The conference, under the theme of God's Church to God's Worlds, walking, listening, and witnessing together, will explore what it means for the Anglican Communion to be responsive for the needs of 21st century worlds. The event will gather together bishops for prayer, biblical Bible study, worship and fellowship, and help decide the shape of the Anglican Communion for the next decades. And finally, before the international news, the leader of the National Democratic Movement has re-echoed a call for drafting of an election timetable as the country gears towards the end of the transitional periods. According to the revitalized peace agreement, South Sudanese will go to the polls on December 22nd, 60 days before the end of the interim periods. Last week, the NDM expressed skepticism about conducting free and fair elections because they say they are prerogative that needs implementation before a credible election is conducted. Dr. Lama Cole says the peace parties should sit down to draft a timetable entailing the time needed for the process to commence. He spoke to iRadio this morning from Khartoum.
Yeah, there is a roadmap from us and there is a roadmap from the SPLM IG, okay? We are talking about ours. We made it clear. What we want is that we should table for election. What is it that needs to be done from now and it is conducted, okay? Because it will not be possible to do it in December this year because the required prerequisites that will ensure a free, fair, and credible election are not in place. So that being the case, then we need now, if they have a change of mind that they are ready to go for election, credible, free, and fair election, then we need to implement those prerequisites. Therefore, the first thing should be to prepare a timetable for the election process. And this timetable will show us the time needed for the elections to be conducted.
National Democratic Movement is a member of the South Sudan Opposition Alliance, a coalition of opposition parties signatory to the peace deal that is pelting with a barrage of criticism. You are still listening to iRadio Afternoon News, and now to the stories making headlines in the regional and international scene. My colleague James Atem joins us, and this international news is proudly brought to you by MTN.
Welcome to the international news with me, James Atemkur. Kenyan police in the capital Nairobi have raided offices believed to be linked to the country's deputy president, William Ruto, who is one of the main candidates in the next month's elections. A police official said detectives had seized 2 computers and 2 servers. An official at the deputy president's campaign secretariat told the BBC they would not want to be drawn into what he described as mere sideshows and distractions. The raid comes amid tension between the country's security forces and the country's independent electoral and boundary commission. Elsewhere, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed the head of the appeals court, Mandisa Maya, as the country's deputy chief justice, becoming the first woman to occupy the position. Her appointment is effective from September 1st. Justice Maya accepted the nomination by the president to the position in March after being interviewed for the chief justice position. And finally, 4 democracy activists have been executed by Myanmar's military in what is believed to be the first use of capital punishment in decades. The 4, including activists Ko Jimmy and lawyer For Zeya Thao, were accused of committing terror acts. They were sentenced to death in a closed-door trial that rights groups criticized as being unjust. Family members of the deceased gathered at Insane Prison on Monday, desperate for information on their loved ones.
Thank you, James Atem, for those international news. And now to the sports news, my colleague Moyo Jacob joins us.
Good afternoon here, and to start with, Qatar FC of Juba has confirmed that their player Joseph Malis has been contacted by Italian side ACF Fiorentina. An official said Malis still have more than 2 years of his current contract with Qatar FC, but the team is still waiting for an official communication from Fiorentina. With Qatar not opposing the move, Red Stars player Joseph Malis will be heading to Europe for professional trials at Italian side ACF Fiorentina. Joseph Malis will travel after national duty at the 2022 CHAN qualifiers as South Sudan national team face Ethiopia on July 28, 2022 in the second leg in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. New signing Erling Haaland scored on his debut as Manchester City beat Bayern Munich in a match twice held up by a lightning storm in Wisconsin on Saturday night. Haaland, who joined City for 51.2 million euros from Borussia Dortmund, scored after 12 minutes in the preseason friendly. The 22-year-old missed the first match of City's US tour against Mexico's Club America with injury niggles. And City boss Pep Guardiola said the forward needs time. Haaland's goal came from a wiped cross from man of the match Jack Grealish, with a Norway international finishing from close range. Guardiola said in a statement, and I quote, "He scored a goal which is important. This type of goals in front of the keeper always is there," end quote. And finally, Spanish teenager Carlos Alcaraz will become the youngest player in the top 5 of the ATP ranking since Rafael Nadal in 2005 after reaching the Hamburg Open final. Alcaraz, 19, beat Slovak Alex Molcan 7-6, 6-1 and will face Lorenzo Musetti for the title on Sunday. The Miami Open and Madrid Open champion has won his 5 previous tour finals. Nadal was under a month away from turning 19 when he became 5th in the world for the first time. Alcaraz is a huge admirer of Nadal, beat him in Madrid, and has also trained with the 22-time Grand Slam champion. He will overtake Norwegian Gasper Ruud when the updated rankings are released on Monday. End of the sports news, and back to you, Yara Jakdeng, in the studio.
Thank you, Moyo Jaco, for that roundup of sports news. And now to end this news bulletin, here is a recap of the main headlines again. The presidential advisor on national security affairs says his family will not revenge on his brother's killing that occurred on Friday in Mayom County headquarters in Unity State. The South Sudan National Police says they have registered 6 murder cases, including suicide in Juba over the weekend. And the leader of the National Democratic Movement, NDM, has re-echoed a call for the drafting of an election timetable as the country gears towards the end of the transitional period. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It is also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel iRadio South Sudan, and watch our comprehensive interviews. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30 p.m. I am Yar Ajak Deng. Thank you for listening.